Yeah, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey.
Let's talk about something that every teacher has felt at some point. Gotcha, leadership. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling when an administrator walks into your classroom, not to support, not to learn, but to catch something, to find what's wrong, to point out what's missing, to document the mistake. And the moment that happens, everything shifts, the room tightens, the teacher goes into survival mode, and whatever authentic learning was happening starts to fade. Now, let me be clear. As leaders, it is our responsibility to give feedback. It is our responsibility to push instruction forward. But how we do it matters, because there's a difference between coaching and catching. There's a difference between building and breaking down. Let's paint a real picture. An administrator walks into a classroom for 5 minutes. Students are working. The teacher is circulating. There's engagement. But the admin notices one thing. The learning target wasn't explicitly stated at the beginning. So that becomes the feedback. That becomes the focus. And everything else that was going well gets overlooked. Now imagine how that feels as a teacher. I had students engaged. I had them thinking. I built a strong lesson. And the only thing that gets called out is what I didn't do. That's gotcha leadership. And here's the problem. When teachers feel like you're hunting for mistakes, they stop taking risks. They stop trying new strategies. They play it safe. They teach to avoid criticism instead of teaching to maximize learning. And that is the opposite of what we want. Because great teaching requires risk. It requires trying something new, adjusting in the moment, sometimes even failing and learning from it. But if every mistake feels like it's being documented against you, why would you take that risk? Let's flip it. What does building teachers actually look like? It starts with this: looking for strengths first, not in a fake or surface level way, but intentionally asking, what is working here? Because every classroom has something working. And when you name it specifically, it does two things. It validates the teacher and it gives them something to build on. Instead of saying, you need to improve student engagement, you say, I noticed students were really engaged during your partner discussion. What do you think made that work so well? Now you've opened a conversation. Now the teacher is reflecting. Now you're coaching, not correcting. Let's go back to that same scenario. Instead of leading with what's missing, you could say, I saw strong student engagement and you circulating to check for understanding. Let's think about how we can make the learning target even more visible so students can connect to what they're doing. Same feedback, different impact. That's the shift. Let's talk about another scenario. You walk into a classroom and a lesson isn't going well. Students are off task. The teacher looks frustrated. Now, this is where leadership really matters, because you have two choices. You can walk out and write a list of everything that went wrong, or you can step in as support, pull a small group, redirect students, model a quick strategy, and later you sit down with the teacher and say, let's talk through what happened and what we can try next. Now you're in it with them. Now it's growth. Here's another key piece. Frequency matters. If the only time teachers hear from you is when something is wrong, that creates anxiety. But if you're consistently in classrooms, celebrating wins, asking questions, having quick, informal conversations, now feedback doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like part of the process. Let's be honest again. Teachers know when something didn't go well. They don't need someone to catch them. What they need is someone to help them figure out what to do next. So here are a few practical shifts you can make immediately. First, change your lens. Walk into classrooms looking for learning, not perfection. Ask yourself, what are students doing? What are they thinking? How is the teacher supporting that thinking? That changes everything. Second, ask before you tell. Instead of jumping straight into feedback, start with, how do you think that went? What would you do differently? Now the teacher is reflecting first, and your feedback becomes part of a conversation, not a judgment. Third, be specific and actionable. General feedback doesn't help anyone. Instead of improve engagement, say, let's try adding a quick turn and talk after this question to get more students involved. Now they have a next step. Fourth, build relationships before you push. Hard feedback lands differently when trust is there. If teachers know you care, if they see you supporting them consistently, they're more open to growth. And finally, remember your role. You are not there to catch mistakes. You are there to build people. Because at the end of the day, your leadership determines the culture of your building. If your culture is fear, teachers will survive. If your culture is support, teachers will grow. So the next time you walk into a classroom, don't ask yourself, what's wrong here? Ask yourself, how can I help this teacher get better? Because when you build teachers, you impact every student they teach. And that's the work.
Yeah, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey.